So you want to survive an interview with a broadcast journalist and come out looking crisp.
Ha! Gotcha.
This video will help you navigate some of the tricks and booby traps reporters are likely to throw at you. This video goes out to a Patreon supporter. I hope this helps, buddy. First thing to understand about broadcast journalism is it's not rocket science. It's more like the knife fight from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
No, not yet. Not until me and Harvey get the rules straightened out.
Rules? In a knife fight? No rules. What?
Well, if there ain't gonna be any rules, let's get the fight started.
If you don't think I'm gonna come at you like that in an interview, you are mistaken. That is the world of broadcast journalism. Given that, let's establish some ground rules so you don't end up getting kicked in the nuts when you sit down for your first interview. First ground rule, and I mean this, speak in complete sentences. It's gonna do three things immediately. It's gonna make you sound smarter and more articulate. It's going to prevent editors from taking you out of context later. It's going to give you a few milliseconds longer to formulate your answer. But how do I speak in complete sentences? With one simple trick. I'm going to teach you. Alec, what is your favorite ice cream? Vanilla cherry? Wrong answer. Run it again. Alec, what is your favorite ice cream? Jeremy, my favorite ice cream is vanilla cherry. That is a complete sentence. And I've done it by reformulating the question into my answer. So whenever I'm in an interview, I listen to the question and then rephrase that question in my answer. Now that we've established the ground rules, let's get into some tricks. The first one I'm likely to throw at you is the negative interrogative question. It goes like this. Don't you have a passport? Well, using my rule of rephrasing the question, don't I have a passport? Do I not have a passport? Yes. Yes, I do not have a passport, but I do have a passport. So, no, I don't not have a passport? It's a yes or no question, but it's ambiguous. There's a double bind built into those negative interrogative questions. And they're not going to sound like, don't you have a passport? They're going to sound like, didn't you call Ashley a two-bit chicken thief? And don't you think that was a bit cowardly given your position? Uh-oh. I did call Ashley a chicken thief, but that wasn't cowardly. So, no, I didn't. But I have it right here, Alec. On October 12th, you told Ashley she's a two-bit chicken thief and she'd go back to communist California. There's no good way to answer that by saying yes, I conceded to the characterization that I'm cowardly. If I say no, the reporter's going to throw in my face the quote that they have. So to escape that double bind, let's run it again. Didn't you call Ashley a two-bit chicken thief? And don't you think that's a bit cowardly given your position? I called Ashley a two-bit chicken thief, but frankly, I probably should have called her a two-bit cockroach thief. I mean, her tweets are an infestation of negativity. Jeremy, Jackson, whatever your name is. Did you see her tweet yesterday? It was horrendous. It was getting ratioed. I've answered the question, but I've controlled the narrative. I didn't fall into that double bind trap, that yes or no binary that's ambiguous. Here's Ben Shapiro answering a negative interrogative question and doing an okay job at answering it.
As you say in your book, you say that there's quite a key phrase, we are so angry at each other right now. But as I say, aren't you part of that anger? Aren't you encouraging that anger? For example, you described Mr. Obama's State of the Union address in 2012 as fascist mentality in action.
Well, I think that if you want to argue with the characterization, then we can talk about what exactly his state of...
Two more tricks. One is the emotional list, and the second is what I like to call the friends and family question. And they often work in tandem. So the emotional list goes like this. Dropped out of college, chews tobacco, steals canes from the blind, only goes to church once a year. These are not characteristics of a good person, Alec. There was no question there. It was a list, perhaps a list of negative things about me, but it was also a declarative statement. There was no question. This is a great maneuver that I like to use, I'll be honest, and other reporters use, because it relies on our inherent desire to fill the silence and often defend ourselves when somebody's making a list of negative things. The right move is for me not to bite, but at the same time, I don't want to just sit there silently because then I look guilty. It's not a good look. A good example of the emotional list in action is Mike Wallace.
Laundering money in Mexico, payoffs to silence witnesses, perjury, conspiracy to obstruct justice. All of this by the law and order administration of Richard Nixon.
Let's run it again. How would I handle it? Dropped out of college, chews tobacco, steals canes from the blind, only goes to church once a year. These are not characteristics of a good person. Jeremy, what are you doing? Reading a made-up BuzzFeed listicle there? Come on, let's talk about serious questions. I filled the silence, I've addressed the list, but I've also pointed out that it's a declarative statement, it's not a question. Third tactic is the friends and family question, which usually follows right after the emotional list. And it goes like this. These are not actions of a good man. Is this a made-up BuzzFeed listicle, Jackson? Do you have some part-time job I'm not aware of? Let's talk about serious questions. But Alec, what does your wife think of this? That's a hypothetical. You can't answer hypotheticals. Who knows what my wife actually thinks about that? I don't want to answer hypothetical questions. At the same time, I don't want to say I'm not answering hypothetical questions, because then I sound like a lawyer. I sound like I'm pleading the fifth, like I have something to hide.
Trump claims he has an absolute right to pardon himself, does he?
It's a hypothetical question that I can't begin to answer in this context.
So another option is I could tell the truth. What does my wife think? I don't know what my wife thinks. But then that sounds like I don't communicate with my wife, which is not a very good look. Dropped out of college, chews tobacco, only goes to church once a year. These are not characteristics of a good person, Alec. What are you reading, a made-up BuzzFeed list? I thought this was serious journalism, Jackson. Yes, Alec, but what does your wife think about this? My wife thinks we need to live in a bigger house, Jackson. I'm pivoting on the hypothetical. I'm still giving an answer, but because it's a hypothetical, I can answer however I want. How does my wife think about it? How does my wife feel about it? My wife is thinking about a trip down to Miami I have booked with her next week. We're going down to South Beach, we're trying a new hotel. Direct the conversation however you want.
Is there anything you regret? Oh, absolutely. I'd love to have done certain things over, but you can't. You can't. But that's true in life. I'd love to have done in life certain things over, I guess. And you would have too.
Give me one.
You would have loved not to have contributed to the Clinton Foundation, as an example.
That was some down and dirty media training. The negative interrogatives, the emotional lists, and the friends and family question. Those are three techniques I like to use quite frequently. They're very good at getting answers out of people. You'll see them prop up pretty commonly. Hopefully, my dear patron, you're able to use this going forward. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a like. I super appreciate it. Particularly if you found this interesting or entertaining. Maybe watch another video over here. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next video.